blimey. This is one out of a jam jar you got here.
Every morning, the House of Mystery contains demons, angels, elementals, magicians, wizards, apparitions, adult language, and discussions. If you're easily offended, do not enter the House of Mystery.
All right, then. On with the show.
All right, hello, welcome everyone to the House of Mystery, the John Constantine and Friends podcast. I am your host, curator of the House of Horrors. Don't be alarmed by the ghosts that pop up suddenly that are naked. We have called them orgy ghosts. They actually came from Doom Manor and decided to hang with us because we're more welcoming.
And we're willing to clean up their mess.
Well, I'm not. You are. You are the bisexual butler. That's your job, Dave. I don't do cleanup duty. Sorry. I know I'm Mexican and I get typecast in those roles, but it's not what I do. I don't play that game. All right, welcome everyone to the House of Mystery. If you're new to our show, we are a John Constantine-centric show, but we talk about the entire world of John Constantine, and what that encapsulates is pretty much the magical side, the darker side, the occult aspect of Constantine's world, or the DC world as a whole. Okay, so today what we're going to be doing, Dave, something fairly simple. There's going to be some moments that we get mad, possibly. There'll be moments where we get happy. It's like a melodrama that we have going on here. There's some good, there's some sad moments, there's some happy moments, there's moments of drama. And then some petty moments, sometimes catty, when we get into Tom Taylor issues. We're working within the melodrama genre, Dave, right? At times? Yeah.
At times.
We'll just call it how it is. Okay, so we're going to be talking about DC news relating to the world of John Constantine and the darker side of DC. There's a lot going on at the same time as there's nothing going on. There's a lot of talk, but nothing really being done. However, I will say that I do appreciate that we're actually getting some talking at least, and things have been a little slow from the DC side lately when it comes to live action and comics, because Warner Brothers is going through a massive shakeup, and one of the biggest shakeups to date. Well, it started with the cancellation of tons of DC-related content across the board on all forms of media because of the new CEO's plan and strategy to eliminate debt because they were on a sinking ship. There's just nothing they could do right. Bad planning for the last 20 years had a lot to do with it. And they have now jettisoned all of the baggage, and they're attempting to jumpstart DC at all levels. And with that comes the news of James Gunn getting involved and taking on a role of creative leadership when it comes to the DC brand. They are separating the houses. Now, of course, Warner Brothers / AT&T is going to still own DC. They're not selling it, but they are fragmenting the creative process a bit so the people who know what they're doing could focus on one specific part of the business, which is what it amazes me, David, that they didn't do this, 15 years ago.
Yeah. But that just shows the ineptitude of Warner Brothers during that time, because they were trying to chase Marvel, yet everyone under the sun saw the formula that Marvel was doing, but DC wanted to chase them, but they wanted to do it differently.
Yeah, we're not going to do what Marvel is doing,
but we're going
to do what they're doing. I'm like, so basically what you mean is you're going to try to create a universe, but have no accountability in the way of narrative. Yeah, that's good job.
Good job.
You really did it different than Marvel. Yeah, so James Gunn has taken over the DC universe, literally all aspects. I do not believe he's in charge of comic books, which is fine. James Gunn has said in a recent interview that he is literally dismantling the old guard.
Yeah.
James Gunn says DC Universe will be connected. This is something that DC has been afraid of doing for a very long time. They have, created this idea that started on the CW, which the fact that DC Warner Brothers agreed to something that was started on a CW show where, hey guys, we're going to introduce the multiverse. Oh, great idea. We're going to go ahead and latch onto that. It's a bad idea. So the reason why was because there was no accountability. What they were doing they wanted to do whatever the fuck they felt like and didn't want to be held accountable for narrative cohesion. And that's why they use this idea of the multiverse as a story element. You know what? What's happening over there? It's still connected, guys. It's a multi-universe story. A story implies cohesion.
Yes.
This isn't cohesive. You're doing whatever you want over there, whatever you want over there. You can have a multiverse, but the stories, if you want to have a connected universe, they should probably have some type of intertextuality going on to some degree. So what James Gunn promises is that TV, film, and animation will all be connected under one DC universe umbrella.
Which sounds amazing.
I am happy about that. I will say, though, it does create a lot of questions for us. Now, bringing it back to the world of Constantine, we had to set the stage by introducing something larger for DC, but now let's nuance this conversation and discuss or try to figure out, what does this mean for the upcoming Constantine movie?
Yes.
That was just announced with the original director returning, as well as Keanu Reeves. What does this mean? Does this now mean that Constantine 2 will, in effect, be a part of the ever-expanding DC universe in a cohesive narrative way?
You got to figure that James Gunn, because he did say that him and his partner are working on an 8 to 10 year plan, I think.
Yeah.
And he has to be willing to pull in as much outside creativity as he can. And I think that's the reason why you bring in Constantine 2. Because by bringing in Constantine 2, you're still bringing in the older movies and everything else. So you're still bringing that into continuity and making your universe that he is attempting to actually put together and give it some substance. Because I think James Gunn understands that he can't look at this as a blank check, or a blank slate.
Yeah, he doesn't.
He's
very aware of what needs to be done.
Yeah,
here.
he has to look and basically say, okay, I have some tools at my disposal. Let's use them.
But the question, though, David, is, what does this mean for Constantine and just the world of magic in general? Does this mean that they're going to be pulling back on the DC shows that have been licensed out to other studios, like Sandman 2 or season 2 that's coming up? Is that going to be separate? Are you going to leave that for now because you've already given out that license? Are you going to quit licensing out things? Are you guys now going to do everything so you can have that cohesive universe? Because you can say all day that you're going to have a cohesive universe, but that entails a lot of pulling back the reins on things. You got to start pulling. So in essence, does that mean the upcoming Zatanna movie has officially been canceled? Is it going to be reworked? Is Constantine 2 going to be reworked to be a part of the tapestry of this new universe? Now, obviously, things can be loosely connected.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, that's fine.
Look what they did with Black Adam. We already know that they went through a lot of reshoots.
But apparently, even that might end up being retconned now, because that was done prior to James Gunn's announcement.
That is true. So we don't know yet what's going to happen.
And I will just say this, because we haven't had a chance to talk about Black Adam yet, because you bring up a great topic here. What does it mean for Black Adam? Because even though Black Adam had its own structural problems, I'm not going to say that movie was perfect, but as a DC old school throwback summer blockbuster film, it was fun. It was exciting. It did more for the darker side of DC, the mystic side of DC. It did more than DC has managed to do in 15 years.
Yeah.
So I I don't know how I feel about them pulling back the reins on Black Adam. It felt like they were trying to do something. It was sloppy, but it felt like they were actually introducing new layers of DC.
That's why I think James Gunn is going to approach this, I think, intelligently and say, okay, I have various projects right now that I can build off of and bring in my ideas. That's why when me and you discussed about Black Adam, there's a lot of wiggle room in Black Adam when you think about it for him to reintroduce certain things, especially like with the story of Dr. Fate and Fate's helmet, the helmet of Naboo.
Yeah.
Disappearing and basically going off to choose its next user. That's a major Justice League Dark storyline. We all know that. So
yeah.
That's kind of like a little chip that James Gunn can call on. And in regards to Constantine, I really think just because of the potential that's right in front of you with that project, James Gunn is a smart person and he knows how to run things. He knows what works. Bringing in Keanu Reeves is going to be a boon for your franchise.
Yeah, and I also feel like he doesn't need to do this connected universe thing. That could mean more than just simply the actual universes within the story.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean that everyone is going to be in the same universe. All this could mean is that there's going to be accountability and that each movie will still be, let's say Black Adam is in its own little pocket universe. Let's say, Henry Cavill's Man of Steel, Zack Snyder's world is in its own pocket universe. Let's say, John Constantine's, or I should say Keanu Reeves' Constantine is in its own pocket universe, and Matt Ryan is in his, and Joanna is in hers. They could still do that, but make sure there is some overlap because DC does benefit from an amazing let's say robust multiverse setup to begin with.
Oh, yeah.
It's a big part of DC. They could still do that and tell a multiversal type of story with narrative connection.
With narrative connections.
Kind of like what Marvel has done so far. They haven't really delved into it too much yet, but they're delving into other universes, but not because, hey, we're going to tell a separate story over here that has no meaning to the bigger Marvel myth arc per se. They're just going to other universes as story routes to take.
Yeah, basically that's what they did perfectly in Phase 1. They told us standalone stories that can stand on their own, but they had like little narrative hooks that could basically tie into each other. Whether it's, mentioning Doctor Strange in Winter Soldier, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Having that overlap makes sense. Now, I don't want them to overdo it like how Marvel is doing it now because it's become comical.
It's also just, I think, even though I liked Doctor Strange 2 quite a bit, that was the red flag there.
That's the red flag.
When you realize that you have to watch literally 3 TV series and every single movie that Marvel has made to fully understand what's happening, that is a mistake. I think that was their first mistake that they really made when it came to this entire connected universe, where you just can't expect people to follow along for 15 years. Movies, maybe on TV form, but movies have always been designed, these blockbuster films have been designed to be moments where people get together during the summertime when families are together more, and during the holiday season when families are together, and your uncle comes over and you're like, hey, you want to go see the latest Marvel movie? Oh yeah, okay, we saw the one last year that came out, let's go see the new one. When you make movies like Doctor Strange, you can't do that. Or I should say Doctor Strange 2. You can no longer do that. Hey, Uncle so-and-so, you want to go see the latest Doctor Strange 2? Sure. He goes and sits down. He's like, what the fuck was that about?
Exactly.
You can't make blockbuster tentpole films like that. You're going to be limiting and isolating, or I should say alienating audiences. So where James Gunn is concerned, he needs to learn from that mistake and try to make these films still feel closed, but also at moments when they need to, they can operate in a grander scale where they can interconnect.
That's why I think it's going to come down to the writers they bring in to make sure that each movie has a strong narrative for that character. You know, like that's why, as I said, it's going to be interesting when The Flash comes out, because I honestly think James Gunn is going to kind of tweak The Flash in a way where this is going to be his stepping point. This is where he's going to basically say, okay, I'm going to launch my take on the DC universe from Flashpoint, from the Flash movie, because it's going to be treated like Flashpoint. And
you think he will use that to kind of merge things, or at least change things?
I honestly feel that that's going to be it.
That's been the rumor for a long time. That is the best opportunity to kind of restructure.
That's right. That's why I feel that the Flash movie is actually really important, not just for, you know, normal DC fans, but even for us Constantine fans, because I would not be surprised if in Flash he alludes to the magic side of DC, because I just have this gut feeling that basically that's going to be James Gunn's that's his start line. That's going to be his start line. So in order for him to do his start line, he's going to have to address absolutely everything he wants to do. And we know that he wants to, we know that Warner Brothers wants to do Constantine 2. They want to carry on the Black Adam stuff. So if they're going to carry on the Black Adam stuff, there was a lot of magic elements that they threw in there, especially, my God, not just like the Naboo stuff, but also like the demons that they introduced.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, you're going to have to explain that side of the world.
Yeah. That's why I liked Black Adam, because it really opened up the world.
Opened it up.
In a encyclopedic fashion, I guess, of way of looking at, I think that's, I can't even speak. Yes, in the way of myth building, world building, Black Adam succeeded. When it comes to actual structure of story, it's a little all over the place, a little messy.
It's a little messy,
but I did enjoy it. Okay, so let's talk about Constantine 2. There's been a little more information coming out. Even though it was announced several months back, it has been officially announced now. It's no longer just a rumor. It is now official that this is happening. Now, Keanu Reeves' return to Constantine for Constantine 2 aims to be more like the comic books. And in quotes from Cinema Blend, it says, and a little like John Wick.
You got to ride it. You got to ride that. You got to ride that power that Keanu Reeves has right now.
Yeah. Okay, so the article says news of the Constantine sequel sent DC fans into a frenzy. Their feelings were reasonable given the original film hit theaters 17 years ago. The cherry on top was getting OG director Francis Lawrence. I wouldn't be nearly as excited for this if Francis
Lawrence wasn't tied to it.
Dude, he did an amazing job with the first movie. Constantine fans, I'm one of you. I understand it isn't the best Constantine movie. It's not.
It's not.
It's actually probably a poor Constantine movie, but it's a gorgeously
done.
It's a gorgeously put together film.
Yes.
Screenwriter Akiva Goldsman and John Constantine himself, Keanu Reeves, to return for another battle with the underworld.
Akiva Goldsman is the name too.
He wasn't a part of the first one, so it'll be interesting to see what he does because he's a good writer.
He's a good writer.
So the article goes on to say that a lot has changed for the superhero movie since the first film was released in 2005. Yes, it has. The mature themes for the first film might get a little darker. According to Lawrence, the filmmaker explained how Reeves' return as John Constantine will be more like the comics with some John Wick for good measure. He says, one of the biggest things for me, and I heard this years ago, because I was just saddened that Warner Brothers, we should have been surprised. Just really fucked him over. So he said one of the biggest things for me about the first one was we followed, per Warner Brothers, the rules to make a PG-13 movie in terms of violence, blood, language, and sexuality. But the rating board gave us a hard R based on their gray zone of intensity. And my big regret was that we have an R-rated movie that's a PG-13 movie. And if I was going to have to go and have an R, I would have made an R-rated movie. I would have made it much more scarier, much more violent, and I would have made an R-rated movie. The idea this time, at least for me, is to really go at it and make a real rated R Constantine, which is, I think, what people always wanted originally, not the PG-13 version that just happens to get an R.
Give me a Vertigo Hellblazer.
Yeah,
Give me Vertigo Hellblazer. I will be ecstatic.
I'm all for that, Dave. Like, I don't have any problems with that. In fact, it just makes sense in a lot of ways. But I also am not one of those people that needs violence. Like, I appreciate it if it's... I'm about reasons behind violence. Like for example, I will briefly... This is something recently I was talking about with a friend of mine, so it's fresh on my mind. Hostel. You know, a lot of people shrug and, you know, chalk Hostel off as just, you know, horror porn and just substanceless. But it is a true horror in the sense that it's a bit of a morality tale. There's a lot of violence and disgusting, disturbing imagery in that film, but there's a message there. There's a commentary on society, and it's the fact that what do you do when nothing makes you feel alive any longer?
Yes.
Well, let me pick up a gun, shoot someone, or let me pick up this knife and mutilate someone's body so I can feel something. It's a statement on the callousness of humanity. So when you have violence like that in a movie because there's something being said, then I'm all about the gore. But when you just have gore for gore's sake, I am not a fan of that. I think it's stupid.
Yeah.
I think it's weak. I think it's hacky. You're not comfortable enough in your stories, so you need to throw in some violence to attract people. So my only concern with this, he seems to be so fucking passionate about a rated R film.
Exactly.
He says it like 7 times in one paragraph in a sentence. I hope he doesn't think that's the reason why Constantine fans didn't rally behind this. Because that's not the reason, dude. The reason why people didn't rally behind this movie, Constantine fans didn't rally behind this movie, was because Keanu Reeves didn't embody Constantine.
Yes.
That's the reason. It has nothing to do with your fucking violence or lack of.
Yeah.
So I hope he needs to go and read the message boards. I don't like when directors or creators listen to fans necessarily, but he needs to fill his mind up with the general consensus. It's not about the violence. The movie has always been, in my opinion, it has some disturbing imagery. It has some cheap scares, but it works. Constantine isn't about scaring you. Constantine, yes, there's a horror vibe. There's a horror aesthetic, but it's not about giving you a thrill in that regard. It isn't a horror film per se.
Yes. And the good way of telling a Constantine story is you're not out for the gore. You're there to see the really dark drama and choices that Constantine has to make.
Yeah.
And like a perfect example of like that is the very first story of Constantine in Hellblazer. If you were to put that story on screen, panel by panel, that could easily be an R-rated film.
Yeah.
By far. If you stuck to panel by panel. And never once do you have to actually do the one thing that I hate in horror films, which is jump scares. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do any gore factor. You really don't. You just have to actually tell a adult, mature story.
You know, David, we're literally bypassing the most obvious example. The 2013 NBC John Constantine TV show. On network television, where you really can't do anything.
Yeah.
The censors are extremely restrictive. And yet that series
got it done.
Was fantastic. It was true John Constantine. Yeah. So that's why I'm a little concerned with Francis Lawrence trying to drive home the point that this movie is going to be rated R. Dude, I don't fucking care about that. I care about your mise en scène.
Yes.
which he did
He sucks.
expertly. You know, in fact, you know what? Just shut the fuck up, Francis, and just direct the fuck out of a script that Akiva Goldsman hopefully will write well.
Yes.
Because obviously you still, after 15 years, don't quite understand. Just direct. That's it.
That's the person that I think is more important to this equation than anything else, Mike.
Akiva Goldsman. Yeah.
Akiva Goldsman's script, and I have faith in Akiva Goldsman. I know he could come up with some of the most engaging, thought-provoking stories that you can think of, and that's what is needed in a John Constantine. If John Constantine fans want Hellblazer, that's the type of narrative that you have to go with, and especially with the way the way that Constantine left off in the first one, because this is a straight sequel to the first movie. You're left with Constantine basically now without cancer, but the devil himself telling him, "You're gonna fuck this up somehow."
Yeah.
And you're gonna be my meat puppet sooner or later. And the whole crisis is John trying to make sure he doesn't end up in hell again.
Yeah.
That could be some really dark storytelling, because just like earlier, I believe in our Oblivion Bar segment, the one thing I mentioned about Constantine is he is ill-fated. That's his destiny. He's born under bad luck. So no matter what, something bad's going to happen to John, where he's going to have to face consequences some way.
He's a similar archetype as, and bear with me, this may sound like weird comparisons here, but he's literally the archetype of the one man, a man against the world. It's Mulder.
Yes.
It's Jack Bauer. And Constantine. Those are the three characters in literature. I'm just going to call it literature for the sake of argument here, or let's just say mass media. Those three characters are some of my favorite archetypes. It's it's a true individualist story, a man against the fucking world.
Yeah, especially like Fox Mulder from X-Files.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So in the interview, Francis Lawrence also says, "I think John Constantine is a funny character in a dark comic kind of way, and I would want to definitely add more of that sarcastic, cynical sense of humor to the story." I would agree.
I definitely
agree. Now, this is some good news, Dave. This actually answers one of our questions that we had started the show with. Apparently, let's see here. He admitted that Akiva Goldsman and Keanu Reeves have been pushing for a follow-up for years. He blamed some of the delays on ownership issues between Warner Brothers and DC, but the issue has been resolved with the creation of DC Studios headed by James Gunn. Lawrence mentioned the trio is currently mulling over potential storylines and the ideas for the character's big screen return. So that's why we got our official announcement, because James Gunn is behind this.
Yep. And that at least hammers home the fact that basically we know that this is locked down. James Gunn has this in mind.
Yeah. But also, if we stay true to the universe, we could get more Matt Ryan as well, if he's looking to connect TV universes as well.
And I'm sure like every Matt Ryan fan out there is praying to the gods that they do. But I still say, Mike,
listen, I would pay $150 a ticket for a Keanu Reeves, Matt Ryan collabo. Can you imagine if we get to... Dude, that sounds hacky and gimmicky as fuck. Hacky and gimmicky. And you know what? I would be there.
No, but here, how about this?
Tell me you wouldn't be as well.
How about this? Okay, we've seen it in Cy Spurrier's run. Old man Constantine. The old man Constantine story.
So that's Keanu?
Yeah, Keanu Reeves is the old man. And then Matt Ryan is the young Constantine.
I would pay... You know what? I would. What is Bruce Springsteen charging for tickets nowadays? Like something ridiculous, like $900 a ticket.
$900 a ticket.
You know what? I will gladly pay $900 to see a crossover event like that.
Can you imagine that? Like Keanu Reeves dressed all like the old man Constantine versus Matt Ryan Constantine. That would be cool.
Yeah, let's throw in some Joanna Constantine as well. Now we're just writing fan fiction.
Now we're writing fan fiction when you throw in Joanna Constantine, because then you're gonna want to Eiffel Tower Joanna Constantine, and we can't do that.
Why can't we do that, Dave? This is the House of Mystery.
Oh no, that's true. But
Yeah, as long as you clean up afterwards. So stupid. All right, so more news relating, or let's not say news, rumors. And this rumor now, David, is going to make you happy. I don't think you've heard this one yet because I kept it a secret. I didn't want you to know about it before the show started. So Warner Brothers looking to introduce Swamp Thing and Francis Lawrence Constantine sequel. Now,
oh my God.
I saw this a few weeks ago and I ignored it as just clickbait. But then more and more articles are now latching on. It's circulating. It's picking up steam. So I figured, all right, there's got to be some type of validity to this. So before the show's run on the CW and DC universe could be boasted about, before even the first episode, the swamp was drained, and the 2019 series Swamp Thing, which was largely inspired by the Alan Moore comics of the 1980s, was canceled. That was a travesty.
It was a travesty. Yeah,
After that came the dubious promise that a rebooted film or series helmed by J.J. Abrams, a bad robot, would happen.
Yes, that name again, J.J. Abrams.
King of not being able to get shit done. What happened to that man's career?
I'm sorry. He is now the king of.
You know how
cannot get shit done.
Yeah, you know how Dave, like, there's that thing, like, if you either men or women, they date that one person that just destroys their entire life, and you're like, man, if I just didn't fucking date that person, my life would be on a different track right now.
Different track.
That's JJ. JJ got in bed with Star Trek. Then he cheated on Star Trek and got in bed with Star Wars. And because of his adulterous behavior, he has no career.
He has no career now.
I mean, he's basically just a producer now.
He tried to jump to DC, and then he couldn't do anything at DC.
He can't get anything done. So this article goes on to say that even if this is even happening any longer, so basically he has doubt like we do when it comes to JJ's plans. It has stalled with no sign of materializing, which may be good news to some who never requested Bad Robot's reinterpretation. But we still haven't had so much as a scarce glimpse of the Swamp Thing anywhere in the DCU. Fortunately, though, we have an actual less polarizing update. The mossy monster that was Alec Holland could emerge from the Bayou waters again very soon, according to Mikey Sutton in a new scoop on his site, Geekosity. Swamp Thing may turn up in Constantine 2, the sequel to a 2005 film. Okay, can we just get into the details here? So he adds that the new CEO of Warner Brothers Pictures, Michael De Luca, is personally spearheading this supernatural project, which is interesting. And it will be set in the DCU to bring more horror elements into the universe, just as Marvel has done with WandaVision, Agatha Harkness, and Werewolf by Night. So this gives a lot of hope to the Justice League Dark fans out there that possibly we're finally going to get the ball rolling here when it comes to Constantine. Listen, all I want, Dave, is a Constantine film. Please give it to me. I am tired of waiting. Just give me a
Constantine film, yeah.
I mean, we're not getting any fucking comics right now. We're not getting a TV show. We're not getting any movies. I'm fucking fiending over here.
Yes. And that's the thing, is kind of like, if you just tell me, okay, in Constantine 2, Swamp Thing shows up. Alec Holland will play in Constantine 2. Thank you. That's it. That's all you got to do.
I would be okay with it. Yeah, Dave, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
At this point, like, it's kind of like, okay, it's nice that you had this little rumor that, a dark led series is coming from Warner Brothers. There's a lot of series that are coming from Warner Brothers. Just tell us, is he gonna be in Constantine 2 or if he's not? Because if he's in Constantine 2, you're damn right. I'm gonna we came up with our fan fiction of, Matt Ryan and Keanu Reeves. No. I want Keanu Reeves facing off against Swamp Thing. That would be freaking awesome. That would be amazing. I don't care if you even make Alec Holland. Okay, fine. Matt Ryan is Alec Holland. I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah.
Just give me Swamp Thing and Constantine, because the types of stories that you can do with those two together in one film could be amazing. And that is the best way to introduce the darker side of DC. Those two are essentially the leaders of the darker side of the DC universe. Whether everyone doesn't want, DC comic book fans don't want to admit it, if we all say darker side of DC, who's leading? It has to be Swamp Thing and John Constantine.
Yeah, well, we know this. We know this. So I guess we'll see what happens. I am getting a little more excited, which makes me worried because
I am too. Because
whenever DC is involved in anything, I get scared.
But this is it's a brand new world now. It's a brand new world. James Gunn is leading it. James Gunn and his team are spearheading it. So it's not J.J. Abrams who sits on it for 5 years and doesn't do anything.
What an asshole. That's a little bit much, but
oh no, it is not much, Mike. It is not. You know why? Because earlier
that does make me mad. He literally, optioned it and then was so greedy with it and just sat on it for how many years? We came up, was it 4 years? Is what we were saying.
Think
earlier?
about it, Mike. The only news that came out of J.J. Abrams' thing was a rumor that he was going to get that one actor, that British actor, that was going to play Constantine.
Which turned out to be inaccurate.
Exactly. And it turned out that the rumor itself was false. So meaning J.J. Abrams and Bad Robot did jack shit with Constantine.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything.
They didn't do anything. They have done nothing with their DC. They moved the most, it seemed like, with Zatanna.
You know how I feel about J.J. Abrams now is like one of our favorite movies, Kill Bill.
Mm-hmm.
What was the character that basically was part of the strip club? And he says, you didn't work on Thursday.
Yeah, Larry Bishop's character.
Yeah. You didn't work on Thursday. You didn't work on.
So what you're telling me is that you don't have a job to do? Wait, so you're telling me is that I'm paying you to do a job that you don't have anything to do?
So you're not going to work on Thursday. Oh, you're not going to work on Saturday.
So JJ.
Exactly. That's how I feel with JJ now.
What's the next show you're doing? I'm going to be doing a Zatanna movie. Let's see here. Let's go. Oh, yeah, here's the Zatanna movie. Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Yeah. All right, so let's switch gears here, Dave, and talk about comic books. There's a new event starting early next year. As we know, this has become a bit of a trend with DC now. They do roughly about year-long events.
Oh yeah, and it's a yearly comic book tradition.
And the one that's coming out this year sounds pretty exciting. It's DC's 2023 Lazarus Planet.
Yes.
So this is going to be a whole thing, but the one that I'm most interested in, and I want to find out if you know much about this because I have not had a chance to fully explore this, but apparently the one that we're going to want to get involved with is Lazarus Planet Dark Fate. There's going to be a string of titles, just like with all of their events. And they're going to be their own stories, but then they're going to have crossover stories as well, correct? Is that how it's going to work, or is it just one issue and done?
No. There's going to be multiple things about this because this is DC's next huge event after Dark Crisis ends. And now with Lazarus Planet, this is them setting up their new initiative. So that's why you're going to be seeing new heroes taking new roles and more heroes being kind of pushed more than the other ones. Like the thing I got really excited about Lazarus Planet. Now, yes, I know Lazarus Planet means that it's Ra's al Ghul, meaning it's going to be a Batman. But guess what? No Batman. There's not going to be any mention of Batman. For now, this is from what I heard about their initiative for a full.
Do you really believe that?
Year. Half year, Mike. No Batman.
Bullshit. Shut up. That's not going to happen, Dave.
I'm dead serious.
David, that's like saying I'm not going to masturbate this week.
I know. That's why I'm like going, all right, DC, you tell me that you're not going to have a Batman title with Batman in it for about half a year
Dude, they're not doing that.
because they want to focus on pushing more heroes.
We're not going to use Bruce Wayne Batman, but we're going to have the entire Bat family. Well, that's essentially Batman by adjacent.
That's what I think is
Batman
going to
adjacent.
happen. That's what I think is going to
Yeah.
happen because they're going to have Nightwing.
Well, and also, isn't he the one leading the whole charge in this Lazarus Planet storyline?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, so I have some details on the one that matters to me, which is
Lazarus Planet
Dark Fate. Yeah, Lazarus Planet Dark Fate introduces a new hero created by writer Alyssa Wong. She's currently writing Dr. Aphra, which I do
Yes.
enjoy. It's fun. It's simple, but it's fun. Who assists John Constantine and Cassandra Cain.
Yes.
So this is going to be a storyline for the three of them. Now, new details are available for Lazarus Planet Dark Fate #1 following the release of DC Comics February 2023 solicitations. One question asking readers what lurks in the corners of the spirit world for new character Xanath.
That's the new hero. Because as I said, the new initiative for Lazarus Planet is to introduce brand new characters. Brand new. And they're all going to be mentored by various heroes.
Okay.
So
I like that.
Xanath is apparently going to be tied to John Constantine.
I like that. On Twitter, the DC editor Jessica Chen shared artist Hanning's variant cover artwork that spotlights Xanath.
Yes.
Their design in massive sword, tweeting, "Meet new character Xanath soon as they fight Chinese vampires with some help from John Constantine and Kaz Kane." Batgirl. What exactly are Chinese vampires?
I know. That's the only thing that has me kind of like questioning.
Do they have like eyes like yours and fangs like a vampire? Like, why do we got to racialize a vampire?
But just to double down.
Or is it Chinese myth they're using? Is that what they mean?
Yes.
Okay.
It's probably a Chinese myth because they're really trying to push a multicultural element in the DC world now. But just to double down on Dark Fate, not only are we going to see Xanath working with John Constantine and Cassandra Cain, but Doom Patrol works with John Constantine.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
And I was like going, that is the series that I'm like going, I have to see this because you're taking John Constantine and you're taking my favorite team together
Yeah.
for the first time ever.
That's going to be interesting to see for sure. So also in this article, it says that Chen's use, meaning Jessica Chen's use of gender neutral pronouns, which I didn't catch that until right now, when referring to Xanath, indicates that they are a new non-binary character.
Yes.
Created for DC.
Yeah. And that's why everyone's hoping that they're not going to try to overblow the agenda, so to speak, in the comic, because there's so many elements in this comic that can go really good. Because you have the Doom Patrol, you have John Constantine, and they're essentially this cadre of characters is going to be mentoring this brand new character. Which I'm like going, if you want me to actually root for Xanath, you picked a good teachers to learn from.
As long as they don't make assumptions with pronouns. Okay?
Can you see John Constantine actually?
That's my point right there. I'm all about gender neutral. That's fine. But also, I don't like the worlds that a lot of these writers create that try to do this gender neutral thing as if it's just the norm.
Yeah.
We live in a society where it's not the norm. When you hear someone they, them, their, whatever the fuck, has not been normalized yet. And when you try to presume for it to be, if you try to presume, let me find a way to say this so it doesn't sound bad. In the story world, okay, let me give you an example. There was a Star Wars book that we read, that we reviewed years ago, where there was a gender neutral character and their preferred pronouns was they and them. They never acknowledged it other than the fact that everyone said, "Oh, them over there," or "they told me this." And you're dealing with a story that was involved with Han Solo and Lando.
Yes.
In the story world of Star Wars, that doesn't make a lot of sense to those characters, especially a character like Han Solo, to just know someone's pronoun as they and them. It should have been a discussion. I'm not talking like some cheesy exposition that's all hacky as fuck, but there's got to be some pushback from characters. There needs to be some complication to that idea, because that reflects a more grounded reality. So if this character is going to be a they them type of character, then I feel like Constantine, to be true to his character, he would make a comment about it.
Yes.
Whether it's snarky, I don't think he's not a hateful person. He's never been governed under hate. He's definitely not a bigot, but there's got to be some type of cynical remark about it, something sarcastic per se. That's not the right word I'm looking for. Sarcastic. Yeah, sarcastic.
Yeah,
There's got to be an acknowledgement. If anyone's going to mention it, he's got to say something about it.
He's got to say something about it. And the really interesting part too that I want to actually.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, you get what I'm saying. Like in the story world sense, you can't just assume that it has been normalized. It would feel a little contrived.
It'd be very contrived, and I think that basically it would go against the character of Constantine, because Constantine's the type of person that doesn't care about that.
He's
shit.
that guy that brings up the things that you don't bring up.
Exactly, and he's a realist. He's an absolute realist. So, if I'm hoping that basically they write his dialogue true to himself, because me and you have covered comics where a writer says that they're a fan of Constantine and they just don't get it. You know, they throw in some Cockney sayings, and all of a sudden, oh, that's John Constantine. No, it's not.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
I wonder what her powers are going to be. Do you think she has the ability to like turn him and hers to gender neutral pronouns?
Neutrals?
Let's see. That's her power.
That's her powers. You know, I think Constantine would be fine with
Let
that.
me pull out my wand. You are no longer a he. You are now a them. That's her power. Can you imagine if that's her power?
Oh my God, dude.
I have the power to get rid of all gender pronouns.
Well,
gender specific pronouns.
She is armed with the sword, so I mean, she might cut their dicks off, but you know.
You don't need a dick when you're them. Actually, that's not how it works.
That's not how it works.
But listen, for the purpose of this stupid, terrible joke, then yes, it was work.
But also, just to
Hold on,
your...
I'm not done. Let me wave my wand, and
Is that a wand?
it's my dick. You're no longer a he, David. I just defeated evil.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine if that?
Wow.
Okay, I'm going back into the magical realm.
And my dick is gone. No,
But-
I'm Asian. I'm sorry.
You don't lose your dick if you become a gender neutral, right? I mean, that's not how it works, Dave.
I don't think that... Well, you never know.
That's not, well, I'm sure it can, but that's typically not. That would be trans, not right.
You made me actually have to think about that.
Come on, David, you're a part of the community. You're supposed to know these things. That's why I
like
keep you
John-
on staff.
But like John Constantine, I don't care.
It doesn't matter. I have the magic to make it all possible. You have a dick, and now you don't.
No, you don't.
I'm going to assign a gender neutral pronoun to your cock. It's now a it. That's so stupid. That's a horrible bit. But listen, it's kind of silly to begin with. This new character looks kind of weak. I'm looking at the art.
It's gonna be interesting.
Man,
I'm telling you, man.
They gotta
make it work.
I'm gonna read it because the idea sounds pretty fucking interesting. But the art, this variant that they promoted, looks
It's not very.
it's cheesy.
Yeah.
It looks very like yay.
The only thing, and this sounds silly because
And
this
actually,
is
David, it actually feels very much like the sounds I'm trying to play. Doesn't
trying
it?
to play.
It looks too magical and happy.
It does, but here's the thing. Now, this is a new initiative that basically DC has been doing, and actually even Marvel's been doing, where the comics are being run almost like television shows, and they announce
They call them showrunners now.
Showrunner.
That's so stupid. Yeah.
But the showrunner that they chose for Lazarus Planet is Mark Waid. Now, Mark Waid's a fantastic writer, and I know he's not going to allow bullshit stories to be put out on his run. So
I'm not afraid. I'm just being silly right now. Alyssa Wong isn't a bad writer. She's actually pretty fucking good.
she's good.
Listen, Cy Spurrier. It's hard to follow Cy Spurrier. Cy Spurrier was the one writing the initial Dr. Aphra. With, who's the gentleman that created the character? It started in the first Vader series when Disney took over Marvel. Kieran Gillen.
Yes.
So you have Kieran Gillen, who is highly philosophical, and you hand it off to Spurrier, who can be highly philosophical. It did lose a little bit going from them to Alyssa Wong. It's still a story that feels just fine and consistent with what we know of the character, but it lost some of its depth. It's more fun. If that makes sense. So
no, it is.
But my point I'm trying to make here is that Alyssa Wong does know how to write.
She does know how to write. Or else
I would have bought the last 30 issues that she's written for Dr. Aphra.
The tone that she tends to lean towards is the thing that's going to be interesting if it works for a character like Doom Patrol and Constantine.
Yeah. Now it is important to mention that she's not the only writer that's going to be writing for Lazarus Planet Dark Fate.
There's going to be a lot.
There's writers Tom Seeley, which we just covered Lobo versus Superman that he did, which
that's
was
so
surprisingly good.
And so many people hate it. I don't know why.
Man, it's really good.
Yeah.
Joshua Williamson, which I'm not really a big fan of his Justice League era. Dennis Culver, A.L. Kaplan, and then, of course, artists Baldemar Rivas and Chris Burnham and Kaplan. So there are some big
heavy hitters.
Yeah, involved in this. And this particular issue goes on sale February 14th. And I think it's the second to last installment of the overall interconnected story of the Lazarus Pit. I'm going to check it out.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see Constantine teamed up with Kane. And then this new character.
Yes.
But see, Dave, there's got to be a Batman character in it.
But it's not Batman.
No, it's Kate Kane. She's
Kate Kane.
And she's interesting.
But like they've literally stated they will not bring in Bruce Wayne for half a year.
Yeah, okay, we'll see.
I know.
Okay, so non-Constantine related stuff. Sandman Season 2 has officially been renewed for a second season. There was some fear there for a while, and I was surprised because the series was fantastic. And we are going to eventually cover the second half. Hopefully we'll throw that on our list here and we'll finish it before the end of the year. But just a great show. It really utilized the affordances of streaming and this new era of television we're in. It didn't just rely that what so many other shows rely on now that fool people into thinking it's high quality with just simply, beautiful production design. No, it was that and more. It was everything it needed to be, and it did. I thought it was a near perfect adaptation. It wasn't 100% accurate to the source material, but not everything is, and we've already discussed why sometimes you have to remove those elements. If you're interested in hearing our discussion on the first 5 episodes of the Sandman first season, just scroll through our feeds about a month, and you will find it there on the list. Okay, so what do we know so far about Netflix's upcoming second season of The Sandman? The 10-episode season, which arrived on August 5th, covers 2 volumes of Neil Gaiman's seminal comics, Preludes and Nocturnus, right?
Nocturnus.
And The Doll's House. Following the first season release, we saw a bonus episode drop on August 19th, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
Hold on here. Here we go. Netflix then confirmed the renewal hours later with an official statement after the whole fear was starting to rise that they weren't going to be coming back. It says the Sandman world will continue to expand. The iconic series will return with even more episodes and stories to be adapted from the multiple Sandman graphic novels. Episode count and story details are being kept under wraps.
Yeah.
Neil Gaiman, in a statement on the renewal, said, millions upon millions of people have welcomed and watched and loved The Sandman on Netflix, from established Sandman fans to people who were simply curious and then became obsessed with the Lord of Dreams, his family, and their goings-on. It gives me unbelievable pleasure to say that working with Netflix and Warner Brothers and Alan Heinberg, David Goyer, and I will be bringing even more of the Sandman stories to life. There are some astonishing stories waiting for Morpheus and the rest of them.
Oh, absolutely.
Not to mention more members of the Endless family to meet.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's time to get back to work. There's a family meal ahead, after all, and Lucifer is waiting for Morpheus to return to hell. So that's a little preview of what to expect. We are going to be getting more Lucifer. And then there was additional comments now coming out talking about Joanna Constantine. And yes, she is slated to return. And from what I can gather from some sources, she's going to be used a little bit more.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, man, I mean, people loved her.
Yeah.
She was great.
She
And
was
what they did with her
fantastic.
was just perfect, spot on.
It was smart, and it took me and you both agreed that basically it took the character of John Constantine and turned it into the legacy of Constantine.
Yeah.
That was the thing.
Yep.
Joanna became the legacy of John Constantine.
Yeah, so I'm excited for that. And that's good news. I mean, at least, thankfully, David, because a lot of us fans, unfortunately, because we're fans of someone that has been born under the wrong set of stars, we unfortunately suffer by default by being fans of this guy because we can't get anything when it comes to Constantine lately.
Exactly.
So at least we're being given a second season of The Sandman. I can't complain about that.
Can you imagine, Mike, if Sandman really does, impress everybody and Warner Brothers is happy?
It's not Warner Brothers, though.
Yeah.
It's Netflix.
It's Netflix. But what if just in Fantasyland, James Gunn,
I'll go with you.
James Gunn looks at Neil Gaiman and says, hey, all right, you wanted to work on Constantine? Let's do it. Neil Gaiman and James Gunn working on a Constantine story.
In a magical world, David,
In a magical
where
world.
Xanath has powers to make it happen, I say let's believe.
Let's believe.
Let's believe, and maybe it shall happen. But this time, Constantine will be gender neutral, because that's my power. So stupid. All right, we need to close out today's show. I want to thank everyone for tuning in and bearing with the shitty jokes. You can find all of our shows, past and present, on iTunes, as well as pretty much everywhere you listen to podcasts. Also, we do have a bonus show that we do pretty much every time we put out a regular show. We have an Oblivion Bar episode that follows or proceeds. Proceeds? That's not the right word. Yeah, proceeds.
Proceeds.
Yeah. I'm tired. We've been recording now for about going on. This is our third hour going.
Yeah, it's our third hour recording right now.
So give me a break, people. Yes, the Oblivion Bar, which is pretty much the same show here, a little more casual, and we get into things that we don't have time to put into the regular show.
And dude, there is so many things that we have not covered.
Yeah, there really is. So head over to patreon.com/RaymanDigital and get involved with that. Thank you, David.
Thank you. Bye-bye.